Let's talk about how to use contribution SOAP framework, step 4, which is progress, to supersize and grow your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. And today we're talking about one of my favorite processes. I share it every single month of the year in my Supersize Your Business group. This year, I didn't do it prior to this, but I shared it pretty often and regularly. And every month in the annual challenge. I've been doing annual challenges for 8 years now. And I didn't share it until about 2020 when I started to use it to keep myself moving and other people moving through the pandemic and all the crazy out of control chaos that was going on with that. So step 4 is all about progress. How do you know with respect to this challenge or area that you want to change with respect to contribution for your business, if you're making progress or not? How do you know if you're filling the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be, right? Because there's a gap. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have come up into your consideration. So progress is all about finding a way to measure what it is that we're doing and the impact that we're having. We can get creative with this, right? We can review it monthly and ask ourselves a series of questions. We can track a numeric value. I am a big believer in taking objective things or subjective things and making them objective. I wonder how many years it's going to take before I get those right the first time out of my mouth. So I want to take subjective things that are really hard to measure, and find an objective way of measuring, a real physical way of measuring. So, for example, in my challenge, I want us in our organizations, as well as me personally, to have more face-to-face interactions with people. I want to have a bigger impact on a fewer amount of people by actually having exchanges with them, right? Being present with them as part of the impact that I do going forward. So how can I measure that? I can measure how many hours I actually spend doing that in a given week, and then look at it monthly, right? That would be a great way to see if I'm making progress or not. And if you know me, I'm going to make an Excel spreadsheet and graphs out of it and track it on an Excel spreadsheet because I like doing that. I've done that for how long has Excel been around? However long spreadsheets have been around, I've been using them because I used to do it by hand. And then when they came out, I was like, oh, this is so exciting. Technology is making life easier. And now with AI and everything else, it just keeps getting easier and easier, which means instead of us getting lazier and lazier, we need to step up and do more and be a better example. So in addition to talking about how you're going to measure this, how you're going to know if you're making progress or not to fill that gap, I like to ask myself a couple of questions, especially when I'm first getting started with a new area of contribution or volunteering in this instance, or a new project. Number one, what did I do today that aligned with my contribution goal? What did I do? What action did I take today? Some days it'll be nothing. Let's be honest. Some days we're not going to do anything on this particular project because it might not be our number one priority, right? And if it's not our number one priority, it goes down to the lower priority on our totem pole, and we may or may not get to it today. So maybe it's nothing, but if it's something, just jot a couple notes down about it. How did it make me feel? When you do something that's in alignment with what you're trying to create, it needs to make you feel good. If it doesn't make you feel good or positive in some way or lighter, I like to say it makes me feel good, positive, lighter, love, impact, any positive emotion, then I'm going in the right direction. If I get any kind of an icky or negative feeling or doubt, worry, or fear, that is a signal for me to ask myself, well, what's going on? What's off about this? Maybe something happened that made me feel bad about an interaction with somebody, or maybe I made a decision or a choice that isn't really in alignment with my core values and our core values as a business. And so I need to go back and revisit that. Whatever it is for you. What impact did I observe in myself and others today, or this week, or this month? What obstacles came up? Because guess what? Just like in our businesses, just like in our personal lives, stuff happens. It's going to come up. We're going to have obstacles. We're going to have challenges. And then how did you handle it? How did your business deal with a challenge that came up? Maybe you booked a space to do an event to contribute to an in-person contribution event, and the space had a flood or something. I don't know. And so it's no longer available. Well, how'd you handle it? We probably found another space, right? Some problems and challenges are just like, okay, it's a Tuesday. And then finally, what will I do differently tomorrow? What will I do differently next month? What will I do differently next time we decide that we're going to do this type of event, etc. And then the other thing I want to talk about before we leave this contribution SOAP framework and progress, how do I know if I'm making progress, is to talk about resistance to contribution. Now, there will be people in your organization that say, oh, heck yeah, we ought to be doing more. Let's do this. And then there's going to be people, usually in the financial sector of your organization or sales. Sales finance seems to be the naysayers on this. In my personal experience, most often, they will raise all kinds of objections as to why we shouldn't be doing these things. Resources, right? Time, doubt, inadequacy, imposter syndrome. We don't have the money. We don't have the resources. We don't have the time, the energy, etc. And you'll always get that. So how do we overcome those types of observations? And how do we realize that contributing is a way of being? It's not just individual acts or things that we do. It becomes part of our culture and part of who our organization is. And I don't know about you, but I do businesses with businesses that support causes and do things outside of just making money, outside of just having a profit, except for, utilities, right? We all need utilities. We all need trash removal. But I choose the other businesses, the ones I have the ability to choose with, based on, are they doing things to make the world a better place? And if the answer is no, I choose not to do business with them. I choose to find another provider, another source, or another way of solving that problem or that need that I have to fill. So what are some ways that you can maximize your contribution using leverage? Number one, document your journey. Share what you're doing on social media or in a blog or in conversations and sharing stories to inspire other people to get involved as well. Collaborate with other people. The cool thing about doing this with our organizations and in our organizations is it's so much easier and so much more powerful to get help, right? And to build momentum and to make a big impact than if we're just doing something on our own. That's why I encourage people to seek out organizations that are already working on the things that are important to you. It's always the best place to start. And then use your strengths. In addition to, and this, I don't know why I even have to say this, but in addition to just giving money, realize that the skills and abilities that you have in your organization that make it amazing and you're supersizing it and successful are the skills and abilities that people out in the real world actually positively need, especially nonprofit organizations. If you're a web designer, you could go help a nonprofit fix their website or create a website, right? So remember to use your skills, not just throw money at things. And how do you sustain your contribution journey? Ask yourself questions. And these are my three favorites as an organization. Are we still aligned with the causes that we've selected to support? We annually review the causes that we're supporting and the volunteering and all the different projects that we're doing from a contribution standpoint annually in our organization. I don't know if you've noticed, but we pretty much review everything we do in all of my businesses annually. Why? And it's not necessarily me doing it, but someone in our organizations does that for each of the different divisions and departments and areas that are important to the business, because they're important to the business. And we have to look at them at least annually and say, does this make sense? Do these safety protocols and systems make sense? Are we insured in a way that makes sense for our business? Nowadays, I don't even know if they have it, but we're going to be looking into it. Riot and domestic terror insurance. And if somebody isn't offering that, they sure as heck should be, because I think they could probably make a killing financially by offering that kind of insurance. Now, they'd probably be paying out some big claims, but the rates are just higher in high-risk areas, right? Insurance has got that dialed in. Are the activities that we're doing fulfilling or draining? Are we having more positive impact and feelings about what we're doing and results from what we're doing? And if it's draining in any way, shape, or form, find something else. Find somewhere else. Find some different project or different group to get involved with. But do something different, because that is a sign to you. If anything feels bad or negative or draining, if you have doubt, worry, or fear around it, or any negative emotions, it's because something is signaling to you it's got to change. And so then change it. And then the next question, of course, is what needs to change? What can stay the same? What do we want to keep doing? what needs to be tweaked or fixed a little bit, and then what do we want to stop doing? Because there are things that we'll support for a while and then we won't. I used to do a lot of things with the American Heart Association, and after a while I got frustrated and burnt out because I found out that the vast majority, like so many nonprofits, of the funds that were raised never went to the research for improving health and improving heart health, etc. It went for administrative and nonsense. And I just got burnt out and stopped supporting that because I didn't believe in the way they were doing it anymore. And then I just found other things that were more aligned and made me feel good about participating and helping them to grow. So what are we doing today? We are figuring out a way to measure progress. How are we filling that gap? And how are we going to measure how fast not how fast we're filling the gap, but if we're filling the gap, right? And moving in the right direction between where we are and where we want to be. Any questions? Hit me up and ask. Otherwise, have an awesome day. I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.